Good morning, everybody. It is the final day. I am so excited. How are you all feeling? Okay, we are getting into how you can create your leadership impact today. Firstly, I'd like to ask a question. Are you a manager because of your job title, or are you a leader because others choose to follow you? Oops, sorry. Is that not working? Well, some leaders are born, others are made. And in my experience, growing your leadership is one of those key skills to have a real impact. Sorry, growing your leadership impact. Being an effective leader is critical to the success of not just individuals, but your teams and your entire businesses. So whether you're looking to create synergies, new product developments, or lead an entire business, nothing happens without effective leadership. Personally, I am fortunate to have worked with and learned from some phenomenal leaders over my career. And I also love learning from the people that I coach as well. So what does it take to make a true leadership impact? Remember, your role as a leader is to connect, inspire, and achieve collectively with your team. Managers give orders, leaders inspire and create connections to achieve the results. Over the last week, so far, we've covered how to create that compelling vision for the future, to inspire people. The next step, of course, is to action it, to really understand your team and connect with them and connect them together, to build resilience to get through those challenges, and then to get more done by creating efficiencies and being more focused. So today we are focusing on your personal leadership impact. First up is to be proactive. Remember, a vision without action is just a dream. So we need to get into action, create clear goals, and make sure that those goals are aligned to the company strategy and your bigger vision. Otherwise, you'll have your team creating goals for themselves. And I've seen some corkers over my time, like how to roast a chicken. Not really great for the business sense, but so it's important to have that clear line of sight. What is our company strategy and vision? What are the things that we as a team need to do? And then individually, what are your pieces to that puzzle? And then you need to hold yourself and your team accountable for delivering the goals. Be relentless on operational excellence with your team so that you can all grow and deliver those exceptional standards. The greatest gap in life is between knowing and doing. So often we know what the thing is that we need to do, but we go off and do what we're used to because our brain is just telling us that's the easy way. So who's been stuck in that knowing phase? But they might be fearful that they might get something wrong or somebody might laugh at them or whatever else it might be. And so they just stay in doing what they've always done. Again, our brain keeping us safe. To get over this, setting deadlines is key and taking that first step. And when you're setting the deadlines for yourself and for your team members, make sure they stick to them. Don't go and move the goalposts and change whenever things get tough. Of course, in extenuating circumstances, COVID is one of those that you might need to change a few things. But try to really stick to those deadlines and build the credibility and reliability factor for your team. And of course, believe in those big game-changing ideas. Get out of the pond and jump into the ocean. Look at the world as that opportunity to continually innovate. Even if you've had one great idea and innovation, don't just rest on your laurels and rely on that for the rest of your career, or it will get stagnant. Because even if you're just staying at that same level, every other company and person is keeping on increasing. And so you're going to be left behind. So make sure you're increasing too. And of course, be flexible and have the courage to fail, because failure is where those learnings come in. Which brings me to my next key point: own your mistakes. Think about some of the most trustable leaders that you've had. They're the ones that can stand up in front of their team and say, sorry, we made the wrong decision here. Showing that you've learned from a mistake is one of the most impactful things that anybody can do. And it's even more important as a leader. It tells your team and your superiors that you can be trusted to face up to mistakes instead of trying to hide them. And you'll look much better fixing a problem than sitting on it. Many of the best business people around the globe celebrate their failures as great learning opportunities. Think Richard Branson, J.K. Rowling, Elon Musk, Sarah Blakely, and even Walt Disney. Without failures, some of our best inventions may never have happened. Do you agree? What are some failures that you've seen? I'd love to hear in the chat. I'll keep going as you write them in there. Third is to develop your dream team. I love using the word dream team because, again, it creates that vision. What do you want for your ultimate success? Of course, if your team looks good, so do you. So don't try and be the expert boss all the time. Actually encourage your team members to look great too. Find the brilliance of every single one of your team members and keep nurturing and growing it. And of course, build and leverage a diverse team. You don't want a team that's full of the same type of thinkers and people from the same backgrounds. Having that diversity from different cultures, different types of companies, and different experiences is the richest source of talent, of new ideas, and of insights and innovations. Remember, your team is always larger than the organizational chart as well. So define your team broadly. Think cross-functionally across the business, end-to-end from products. What agencies do you use? And support every single person in that network as if they're one of your team members. Obviously to varying degrees, but keep them all connected and tap in to their knowledge and their skill set as you need to. And of course, if team members aren't located in that same location, which is happening more often now that there's more remote work, but those people that are remote often feel left out. So make sure that you're connecting with them and engaging them regularly, as we've spoken about through the week. Developing people is the way to achieve your business success. So create a learning culture in your team rather than a knowing culture. Yeah, I know that. Actually, what's something different that you didn't know about that idea? Keep asking them questions, keep challenging their thoughts in a positive way so that they will keep growing. And as a leader, the more time you spend on coaching and developing your team, the more impactful they will be as an entire team. So if you have a choice of developing or working on your own individual tasks, choose developing. You should be doing more developing than your own tasks and leave the tasks to them. And of course, have the tough conversations early, because if you as the leader won't, then no one will. When asking top leaders what their biggest regret over their career has been, it's often been around not tackling people issues early. So when somebody's underperforming or maybe not a culture fit. So give them that feedback. Give them the chance to improve, because sometimes it's just that they're not aware. And when you're giving them the feedback, commit to supporting them. Don't leave them on their own. If after that, it's still looking like it's not working out, then make the tough calls early. Dragging it out only prolongs the problem for everybody, and you'll be doing both them and the business a favor by setting them on their new path. Okay, we have a few questions or comments. Penicillin came from failure. Absolutely, it was, to wash the petri dish. Thanks, Suzanne. I love that example. Florencia, failures are hard at the moment. They're happening, but looking back at the biggest opportunities, definitely, that have presented in my career. Yes, Suzanne, very good point. Inclusion, not just diversity. Absolutely. Include it. So diversity is making sure that you have a range of people. The inclusion piece is speaking up and making sure everybody is heard regularly. Thanks for that. Take risk. If you win, you'll be happy. If you fail, you'll be wise. That is a brilliant quote, Hal. I love that. Thank you. Amanda, were you wanting to jump in?
Oh yeah, look, I was just thinking about, you know, when you were talking about culture fit and so forth, I think sometimes it can be really challenging. I mean, I'm in HR and my coaching business, but being in HR, I think it'd be hard to performance manage someone when they're not a culture fit, or to get them out of the company, especially once they've passed probation, which has happened a couple of times in my current environment.
Yes, yeah, that is, yes. And look, obviously I have a HR background, and that probation piece is so critical. You should identify that culture fit piece pretty early on. And managers, and that's the big thing, isn't it? Managers get worried and don't want to give the tough feedback. And so therefore they let these things prolong, and all of a sudden the probation's finished. So as a tip for managers, how I like to structure probation periods in Australia, the limit is 6 months. I still say to managers, you should give a 3-month probation period, because having that time frame actually makes you think about the issues, if there are any, and give that feedback early. And if you need to, you can then extend the probation period for a further 6 months. And so that really forces them to make those calls early and deal with the situation early, so that you don't get to the end of probation or forget about it completely and then it's too late. But sometimes, and you know, I remember a previous director from mine years and years ago, he had this saying, are you on the bus or you're off the bus? And it was as simple as that for him. And people, this is the way we do things here. And if you like what we're doing, great. We're doing great things. We have high engagement. If you don't like it, then is this the right company for you? It's okay to have those conversations. It's about being clear, doing it in a caring way, and saying, look, you know, your people are out there and your company is out there. Think about, are you happy working here? Don't just be in a role because it's a salary. Be in a role because you love it and you love the people that you work with. Thank you for that insight. Terry, my biggest mistake and learning early on in my career was recruiting people too similar to myself. Absolutely. The similar to me bias, and everyone has it in them. So it's about really challenging that and saying, no, actually, I don't want that person because they are too similar to me. I want to choose somebody else. I've even seen some companies go to the extent of they de-identify all of the CVs. So you cannot see who that person is, what their name is. So you don't know, you know, what ethnicity they are, what gender they are, what their age is. They really go to extremes to go, this is the skills and capabilities that the person can bring. And is that what you're looking for? So they only identify who that person is when they get to interview stage. Good. If you work hard on culture fit, you might miss out on inclusion. Yes and no. Yes, there is a bit of a debate about that one, Suzanne. You can absolutely have a bit of, you know, if you're wanting everybody to fit too similarly in that culture, there can be a little bit of a separation. But I think a big part is with culture is having an inclusive culture and celebrating the differences with everybody. In doing things like having a team day or even a monthly lunch where people bring a lunch from their background, from their heritage, so that you can see and celebrate all of those differences. At the last company that I worked with, we walked through, we were like the United Nations. It was, we had people from so many different cultures, and it was such a thriving environment. And it's really about doing exactly what Terry, alluded to. Don't recruit people that are similar to you. Make sure you make a point of recruiting people that are different so that they can have the different perspectives and point of views. And that is the culture, rather than it being a similar to me, a same culture, because we work there as well. Okay. Communicating with confidence is absolutely critical for being an impactful leader. Think about those impactful leaders. Are they ones sitting sheepishly at the back of the room? Most likely not. Impactful leaders are clear. They're confident and inspiring communicators that move people to action. They take a stand for what they believe in and they commit to their principles. So tips on this are to be clear and concise. Brevity gives focus and focus gives clarity. So don't get stuck in rambling, circling, trying to figure out where to land. Deliver that clear, compelling case, and particularly in those high visibility when you're environments where you're speaking to the board, for example. They'll show how you can think on your feet. Translate the complex to simple by breaking down those complex ideas into things that people will understand, so that your team and your business understands what you're meaning behind it, giving actionable examples. If you're trying to show somebody how smart you are with all these complex knowledge, then you'll often just confuse them. So distill it down and people will be much more impressed with what you're saying. Engage people with stories. So weave relevant stories and examples through everything that you talk about, your presentations, your meetings, and even conversations, to drive home the strategic messages and emotionally connect with people. Think about Martin Luther King. I have a dream. He eluded that emotion and exacerbated the feeling in people rather than just telling people this is what he wanted. The non-verbals are absolutely critical. What you actually say is only a very small part of the message that comes across. So remember, what is the tone of your voice? How are you speaking? Are you speaking confidently and clearly? What is your body language? Are you hanging back with your arms crossed with a don't care look on your face? Or are you sitting up, taking notice so that people can see that you're interested? Collaborate instead of challenging people. When you don't agree with something, instead of just saying, no, I don't agree, or competing and challenging them negatively, that can shut down the conversation completely and shut down the innovations that might come out. So look at how you can amplify a situation. Yes, and is a great way to start. If somebody says something, yes, and I remember one of my clients went home and came back to me and said, I used that to a movie that my wife wanted to see. I kept saying yes, and, because I really didn't want to see that movie. And I ended up being able to turn her around to seeing something completely different. So it's about building on an idea and just keep saying, yes, yeah, we could do that. And we could see this, and we could blah, blah. And it's just building and building and building and amplifying the situation so that you're brainstorming, you're opening up more neural pathways and getting to an effective outcome in a positive way. And then, of course, have the tough conversations. So we spoke about having tough conversations for performance or cultural issues, but it's also about having tough conversations to support your team. If there's unrealistic expectations set by the business or by other people, standing up and speaking up about what you believe in and doing so early. Being clear on what you need to say, what the impact of the issue is critical, and then what your expectations are moving forward so that you can go forward with absolute clarity for both you and the other people. Good, okay. Now, creating a culture is key. As a leader, you're the role model who sets the tone for the behavior of your team. So create the culture you want by demonstrating the right behaviors consistently, rewarding the right behaviors, and stepping up to talk about ones that are limiting that culture. As a leader, it's your role to ignite people's passions, to create and amplify enthusiasm. And by creating that energetic environment, you'll increase engagement, you'll increase commitment to the business, and therefore the results will just come. It's not about being perky and positive all the time, because that can just be fake. Of course, everyone has their down days, and you as a leader will as well as of course your team members. So it's supporting those and through those periods, but overall, on the whole, creating that sense of we love being here, that your team members can't wait to get into work because they're enthused to be working on some awesome projects. Throughout my career, my proudest achievements have been where I've really seen that culture shift. Go from people who are just grumpy and frustrated in the team and they're not engaged, to seeing a team start thriving and communicating and talking together and really achieving. There's nothing better. And as a leader, you have the ability to impact that exact culture. Okay. Next is to build a strong network. A strong and supportive network is absolutely key to leadership success and your leadership impact, to be noticed as key leadership talent. As they say, the big deals are won on the golf course. Maybe not so much right now, but what that saying is all about is developing strong relationships over time so that people will support you and vice versa. You've probably heard that common complaint. Everyone's working in silos. No one knows what's going on. We're not talking to the other teams. And people, when they're in those silo mentality, often tend to hoard information as power, and the communication is just lost. So break down those barriers by sharing information, building those networks so that you have trusting relationships all over the business and externally. And then you'll be known as that go-to person, as the knowledge expert, as a strategic contributor, and even be known outside the organization, within the industry, as that knowledge and expert. So there's three types of networks. There's operational networks. They're the ones that will help you get your daily jobs done. So your peers, your managers, your direct reports, people elsewhere in the business that you're working with, and even your clients and suppliers and agencies, the people that will get your job done on a daily basis. Your developmental networks are those kindred spirits, people that are in similar roles to you in a similar industry. So they're often external groups and bodies, networking groups, alumni groups, clubs and associations. And there might be some people from within your company in there as well. But they're what we call the classic networking. They provide referrals, share information, and give personal development opportunities. So they're absolutely critical, particularly when you're looking to enhance your career overall and potentially make career moves into other businesses. And then thirdly is the strategic networks. They're the people that will help you define and prepare for future strategic initiatives, as well as creating allies, particularly within other managers within your business, that you can work on a proposal together and enable from having a two-pronged approach or a multi-pronged approach to get that proposal signed off and approved. So they're really critical to your leadership impact success and often not leveraged enough. Three keys to successful networking are: don't wait until you need such a relationship, otherwise it'll just be forced. Make sure you're nurturing these relationships throughout your career, so that when you have them, you can tap into them because you've already shared information and support to them. Give more than you receive. Sharing knowledge that's relevant to support your peers, obviously, as long as you're allowed to share that information, but share what you can. And thirdly, communicate effectively. Your network needs to know that they can understand that you're articulate, so that they believe in you and you have that reliability. Who has a quick show of hands or a yes in the comments? Who has a network outside of their organisation that they tap into regularly? Great, Terry. Okay. Next is to hold the mirror up. As a leader, you need to be able to identify your strengths and your weaknesses by seeking regular feedback, as we've discussed throughout the week, so you can implement change and keep improving. You need to find out what others really think so you can make actionable changes. And a key way to do this is with a 360-degree tool. Who's used or has undergone a 360-degree assessment before? Yep, great, a few of you. These are absolutely the best way to know how others see you, because it allows people to provide confidential feedback, and that safety of being able to tell you what they really think without fearing, particularly for your direct reports, without fearing any repercussions or demotions or anything like that. There's a lot of tools out there. My absolute favorite is Human Synergistics. It highlights 12 different behavior patterns on a circumplex, and it shows how you can become more constructive, which is achievement and authentic leadership. And it also gives you actions to move away, if necessary, from passive defensive, which is people pleasing, and aggressive defensive, which is overly competitive and perfectionistic type behaviors. And it gives clear action plans based on the feedback of how you can grow into that more constructive environment. A great example of one of my clients, probably debriefing one of these assessment tools is probably where I get the best aha moments from my clients of, okay, now I understand why that person wasn't connecting in that way. And a great example is somebody who thought that she was really achievement oriented. And in her head, she was really focused on that. She was focused on her results. She thought that she was being a great leader to her team as well. But it came back that she was very competitive and perfectionistic. And as a result, was a little bit micromanaging her team. So that was challenging feedback at first, but it gave her the insights to then start moving towards the more achievement-oriented behaviours. And by doing that, she was able to reconnect with her team, to understand them and work with them more effectively. She had less pressure on herself. She learnt over time to put less pressure on herself, so she was less stressed. And it meant that her relationships and her effectiveness was much better. At the next performance review, she told me that she was rated at exceeding expectations. So she put in the work, she took the feedback on board, and it was fantastic. Okay, we have a few comments here. Once, yep, quite insightful at the time. Leadership Circle was pretty good. Yeah, I've heard that one's a good one too. And Terry, for small businesses, human synergistics is too complex for a piece. I don't think so. So human synergistics says you can do a minimum of 6 people to get a solid review. So 15 people is absolutely fine. I would probably encourage you to use all 15 for every one of those feedbacks, but that would take a little bit of time, or as many people as you can. You absolutely can use them for smaller business as well, as long as you've got about six people. LSI as well does most of them do a self-assessment as well as an others assessment, so that you can have 2 different views to look at it. But I can chat with you more about that later if you'd like, Terry. Okay. And of course, keep learning. Warren Buffett, who is an American business magnate and probably one of the most known and best investors in the world, he now gives away 99% of his income. He is that rich. He said the best investment that you can make is an investment in yourself. The more you learn, the more you'll earn. Personal growth is that single biggest factor for our careers. Everyone has their talents. And the difference is the people that will keep learning, particularly now that the world is so complex and changing. You need to carve out deliberate time for self-development, to read about what's going on out there, to practice and implement things that you've learned. So don't fall into that trap of complacency that, hey, you're a great leader, that's enough. Recognize that the bar goes up every step of the way. So keep asking yourself, am I better than I was yesterday? And am I prepared to do more to get better tomorrow? And I think that you all are in that group because you're in here now. Surround yourself with the right teachers that will stretch and push you to accelerate your brilliance. And keep coming back to that future vision. Who do you want to be in 5 years' time? Why can't you be that person now? What are you doing right now to make sure that you can be that person? Tony Robbins has a great quote. I like the first half is, if you want to be successful, find somebody that achieved the results that you want and copy them. He then goes on to say that you will become that person. Maybe not, there's a little bit more to it than that, but absolutely copy, find those people and think, what are they doing that I'm not doing, and how can I get there? Okay. The old way of learning is having one-off training. How often have you been to a training day that was absolutely energizing and engaging, but then you go back to work and you go back to what you've always done because that's what you used to. You might implement a couple of little things, but then you forget them over time. Research shows that 87% of learning is lost within the first week if you don't apply it consistently. It comes back to those neural pathways that I keep talking about. You do need to keep focused and accountable. Don't get me wrong, I've had 20 years of facilitating exactly those types of training sessions. They absolutely have a time and a place. When you're needing to tap into a whole lot of people at once and you're wanting to create team connections and team discussions, they absolutely work brilliantly. But for personal development, you need to have that consistent approach. trying to do it on your own with self-help books and articles, again, are fabulous. And I've got, you know, a whole lot of leadership books there, but they don't tell you how to tailor those ideas to your own needs. You need to have somebody to work with to be able to apply and give you understanding and coaching on exactly how you need to apply things. And then, of course, hoping to wake up to something different. The better way for training to get lasting change and true transformation is holistic, supportive, and nurturing. So you have a strategy, not just a grab bag of information, but actionable processes to help you get to the outcome. Transformative coaching to make sure the information is applicable to you, to hold up that mirror, to ask the impactful questions, shift limiting beliefs, and enable that powerful lasting change. To have consistency in applying the principles over time to help build those neural pathways, instead of binging on something, then wondering why it's not sticking. And to have community support, having like-minded leaders to go through that process together. Because stepping up as a leader can be lonely. You're on a different level to your team, and sometimes your peers can be less than supportive. The Inspired Leader program does just this. It's best practice tested strategies with clear actions along with powerful coaching and behavioural assessments to really hold up that mirror. Combined with ongoing support so you get the accountability over a period of time so you have that sustained change. And you'll be in a group of like-minded leaders to get the clarity to be kept accountable and to support each other on your learning, because there's no point in just learning in a silo. Having experiences from more people and different perspectives just adds and it accelerates that learning. Over the last week, you've told me, so these are some of the challenges that you've been facing. Your team isn't connected and struggling with remote work. You have a challenging team member that you just don't know how to manage. You want to develop credibility as a leader. You want to maintain energy in the performance of your team. You're leading a team who have been equal colleagues for a period. You're growing a team or have a new team that you're working with remotely. You have to fix work that's been delegated and you're working long hours. So right now you have a choice. You could keep doing what you've always been doing and get the same outcome. You could stay where you are and hope for the best, hoping that once this project or busy period or COVID's over, that things will get better. But will they? You can stay feeling that overwhelming dread of how can I connect or what's next. Continue with the books, the podcasts, and hope something will stick. And you can keep trying so hard to bring it all together, but end up in the burnout of each day and not really there for your family. And I know it can be tough investing in yourself, but what is the cost of not investing? You could be missing career opportunities, promotions and salary increases. Your relationships can suffer with conflict at home and at work, or missing quality family time. And your health, that stress, that anxiety, the sleepless nights can all lead to even worse. It's not a way to live. I've been there, and I promise you it is so much better on the other side. Imagine if you could lead effectively to connect, inspire, and achieve big results with your team. Have a team that can pull together and support each other, that you're in the flow each day, adding value on key strategic initiatives, that you're known as an incredible, impactful leader. You can have quality time with your family and friends and make more money to boot. It is possible. I've helped hundreds of leaders and aspiring leaders to get where they are today and to really level up. My passion is absolutely to support and empower leaders to connect, inspire, and achieve with their teams. To have that support and accountability to really make lasting change. Because I don't really love facilitating and training people and then see you later, hope for the best. I like to really be able to see that the changes in people. So if you're wondering, maybe I can have the career, that leadership career without the burnout. Maybe I can connect with my team, even if they seem dysfunctional. Then your next step is to book in your free leadership strategy call with me today, where we work out your leadership plan and how to get you there as effortlessly as possible. The link is on the screen and I'll pop it into the chat in just a minute. What we'll talk about is where you are today, where you want to go, give you a step-by-step game plan on how to get there. So I've opened up extra time in my calendar so that every single one of you can book in if you'd like to chat further. I really do want to get in the trenches with you. So I have a challenge special for everyone who books a call in the next week. And on top of that, for the first 3 people that really show their commitment to that program, I'm going to support you further by providing those predictive index assessments to up to 4 of your team members, and also hold a team alignment session with you. So click on the link and pick a time that will suit you. I can't wait to work with you and speak to you soon. And I'll leave you with some testimonials that have come through so you can see some of the results that I've had. Okay. So thank you very much everyone for your time. If you have any questions, please unmute yourself, shout out, or put them in the chat, and I will take it